Yo guys, what's going on? Sorry I missed out on, this week's mini series or another Monday upload. We got a new addition to the family, and I wasn't able to get out here to do any work. Plus, it also got super windy. We ended up with a big rainstorm one night. But I didn't forget about you, and this week we're going to continue working on this wiring. I gotta get this table cleaned off, and I'm going to show you how I'm gonna lay out some wiring. There's a couple things in here that I did forget about, but in this kind of same area, I think I'm just gonna make a super long lead for the PATS transceiver, because it is 4 direct wires to the BCM. I left it at work again. But it's just a circular ring that you stick the factory key fob close enough to that it reads a key code or whatever you want to call it. What I plan to do is basically take the housing of the key with the lock, the unlock. I don't need the actual key itself. I just need the housing of the key. And what I plan to do is kind of make it look. It's going to be more of a security thing where somebody's not just going to be able to get in here and, like, this is a pretty simple ignition switch. Somebody's not just going to be able to get in here and start it. They're going to need the PATS transceiver key fob kind of idea to be slid into a specific slot somewhere in the dash. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to get that table cleaned up, and I'm going to get this wiring out of here. But there's also one more thing that we got to work on this week. I can't just build this thing without money. To make money, you gotta do other work. Buddy's dad dropped this off, and we're gonna rebuild the suspension. We're going to do some work on the steering and all that kind of fun stuff. I think it needs a new belt. It doesn't really move very well, but I'm also gonna do that. So I got some stuff to do this week, so we're gonna get to work. Wow, first things first, we're actually gonna get to work on this guy. I'm just doing a front end check on this thing. I already had the tires off. The brakes are pooched. This thing is not maintained well at all. Actually, this lower control arm is bent beyond belief, but look at the play in that lower ball joint. There's also a bunch of play in this wheel bearing on this side. That inner tie rod end is bent. There's a pile of play in the inner tie rod, which honestly I don't know if it's the rack yet, but this thing feels like it binds on corners. So I don't know if it's going to be the steering shaft or if it's going to be the steering rack itself. But yeah, we're going to go into the back end. The other side is actually pretty close to the same. The inner tie rod end's pooched. The lower control arm or lower ball joint is really bad. Some play in the upper ball joint, and the wheel bearing seems to be okay on that side. So I'm going to see if he wants to do both wheel bearings just to be safe or what. But for the most part, this thing is I wouldn't be driving this very fast. Actually, I wouldn't be driving this at all. So we're going to check out the back end. And I think he's got there's a burning oil smell, so we're also going to check that out. I don't really like dealing with small motors to begin with, but steering and suspension is steering and suspension, whether it's on a side-by-side, a big truck, or just a normal vehicle. Okay, so I got this passenger side rear tire off. It doesn't matter, but both of these, I don't know if you can see it here. I might not be able to hold this steady enough, but both of the rears, this is much more exaggerated when I have the tire on it. But the bushings in these rear knuckles, both the upper and the lower, What an excessive amount of play. Just grabbing this thing, that's almost like a steering knuckle. These weren't built with rear steer. I'm gonna get this thing quoted, get parts quoted for this thing. These rear brakes on this side look okay. I'm hoping the other side look okay, and then we can save them the hassle of doing rear brake. I don't really know if this is gonna be entertaining for you guys or not. I gotta do work to afford parts for the Ranger. Whenever I get side jobs and stuff that I'm gonna tinker with, other small projects here and there, they'll probably get uploaded too. So, like I said, I kind of suspected, these rear brakes are actually worn very unevenly, almost contacting metal on metal back here on the upper edge. I don't think this would last the summer without actually causing these rear brakes to make noise. Oh, also, that's not supposed to happen. So, I'm gonna have to do something about that. It seems as though, I don't think it's actually the knurl on the stud, because that looks okay. I think this hole might end up actually being oversized, because I can push the knurl all the way through, almost. Yeah, I can push the knurl all the way through. I don't know if when I have this off, I think these are aluminum, but I can double check. Might be able to give that a quick weld if it's actually steel. If it's not steel, then I might have to get an oversized wheel stud. It's just something to keep it in there. Like the nut was actually tight. It just, when it started loosening off, the stud actually kind of was backing itself out. So what I had to do was kind of get the other wheel studs off, kind of use the tire as a pry bar basically to keep it steady. The steering suspension in this thing is pretty jacked up. We're gonna make a quote for that. Then I gotta figure out. I'm on to diagnosing the park brake. There's like no tension. I don't know if maybe the cable broke. I gotta figure out how this routes. Take a look. Looks like you're gonna take. Hold on. Oh, can't see in there. But like, it feels like there's no cable attached to this. I don't know how these park brakes work, so do some research. Well, I don't know why that was so difficult, because the park brake is wide out in the open between the transaxle and the rear diff. It is literally its own disc and pad set with a lever on it. I closed the box already so you can't see it. It's a super simple setup. This lever pulls the cable, which pulls the lever on the park brake caliper, and it squishes the pads to the rotors. Once I figured out where it was, I was able to see what was going on when I pulled this lever. When I pulled the park brake handle, the lever on the caliper moved. It didn't squish the pads enough. I made some adjustments on the cable because there are adjustments on the cable available, but it still wasn't enough. There is almost no pad left, so he needs park brake pads. Well, he's also complaining about an oil leak, or like a burning oil smell. Yeah. The camera.
Oh, I thought you were joking.
No, talking to the camera. Hi. But it looks like his valve cover is actually leaking right onto the exhaust header, or onto the header manifold, whatever you want to call it. So that seems to be like an easy fix. Probably just some silicone or something, clean up the surfaces. Should be able to get some more parts for the Ranger once this thing's done. Transmission is on order as of, well, transmission, by the time this video is up, the transmission will be ordered. And I think they said it's going to be about a week and a half to get here. But anyways, when that gets here, I'll do a video on that. I'll let you guys know how that's going to be, what's going on with that. If you guys are interested in seeing these side jobs, let me know. We're going to go get this table cleaned up and pull my wire out of the or my rope out of the dash. Okay guys, so we're back on the truck now. I got the table cleaned off, as you can see. Mess of wires over there, drill, whatever, blah blah I gotta keep going on that. But I just want to show you before the storm that we're supposed to be getting rolls in. These are the BCM connectors. I can't remember the letters off the top of my head, but I will mark them out on the table. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And there will be a takeoff point right here, and then this lone string that's all by itself, this is just a length to the firewall for the headlights. I still have to add to this to go out to the headlight wiring. This is just a start. I think I'm gonna actually put a connector here, because this will actually be long enough to head outside of the firewall. And then from the same takeoff point where we head this way through the dash, I wanted to keep it to close to the edge as possible with my takeoffs coming down the table. So this takeoff actually goes to the instrument cluster and the radio. They're tied together because they're close enough together that it doesn't matter. One is going to have a constant, the other one's going to have a constant and a keyed switch power, and the other one will have just a keyed switch power. And then we continue off into this jumble of mess. Taking these wires out of the dash actually kind of made some knots, and doing this tiny little bit of section right here took way longer than I expected. As long as it's not storming all day like it's supposed to tomorrow, I'm going to come out here and finish stringing this out, and I've got to get some wire so that I can run all of the lengths of wire to wherever they need to go. I also still have to, because I haven't, and it's boring and it's long and it's tedious, I have to go through both wiring diagrams for the Ranger and the F-150, put each wire and each connector together. That way I get everything correct. I started, but it's not something that I'm going to film. I might, once I finish putting it all into an Excel sheet, I might show you guys what it looks like, and maybe like one circuit to show you how I did it. So I've already spent like 3 hours on it, and I've barely got through, I don't know, I haven't got through very much wiring at all. Maybe the headlight circuit and a couple other circuits, but nothing crazy. There you have it. The rest of this is all entangled. The downfall to this is all of these ignition switch wires are huge. Like, I think that's 14 gauge wire for most of them. 2 big gigantic contacts in the ignition switch. So what I think I might do is actually have a constant power to the ignition switch and then build a relay block, because I don't like to trust that the ignition switch does all of the power feeding for circuits. Actually, I don't like using switches to take the brunt of the load. I'd rather use a relay. It would also make the bundle of wire a lot smaller. The downfall is these wires already have a memory of how they ran in the dash. I cut them back as far as possible just so that I had a lot of wire to work with, but it makes it look a lot more crowded on the table. Like these ones, they look a little bit more cleaner. First of all, because the wires are smaller, and second of all, because the leads are shorter. But yeah, so ignition switch, this goes to there's a connector on the steering column, turn signal relay. I think I messed up and I missed a joiner from here to here. It was hard underneath the dash, so what I might do is I might take another piece of string and just go from this takeoff point up to the turn signal relay. That way I know what's going on, but I may not have to also, just because this connector goes to the multifunction switch, which then signals the turn signals and multifunction switch and hazard switch and all that stuff. So what I could actually do is whatever wires come back out of here, make a takeoff point here. I have the layout of how this is going to go, but I need to clean up some of these wires, get some of them isolated, just so that I know where they're going. Clutch pedal and brake pedal are actually really close to each other, so I just ran one wire. They're probably gonna share power. Each individual output will go to where it needs to go. And then you continue on. This takeoff point goes out, up and down on the table, but it actually goes out to this takeoff, which goes through the hole in the floor to the taillights and stuff. And then just because it's so long, I just kind of wrapped it around, but that goes to the high mount stoplight. So that's going to run along the floor, and I continued on to the headlight switch and the dimmer switch, which I don't think I'm going to use. I don't think I need it, because I don't have any more dimmable lights in the truck. I don't have dome light. The instrument cluster is just on. I'm not going to be able to dim that the way it works, because it actually dims using the sun load sensor, and I don't have a sun load sensor, so I'm not going to worry about dimming it. I'm probably not going to drive this thing at nighttime. That is the in-dash section of the chassis harness. This is the easy part of it. If I had a section of wire laying around, I would show you, but it doesn't matter. Basically, let's say this wire into the BCM was the start sense wire. What would happen is I would run it along the orange wire or orange cable and come back this way, follow the orange wire until I reach the clutch pedal on the output side of the clutch pedal, because I don't want the truck to start without the clutch being pressed, just for safety reasons. You never know. You could leave it in gear, you could not be paying attention, somebody else could reach in there, hit the key, and the truck takes off in gear. It happens. That's the chassis side of the wiring, and we are done. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell button for notifications when I post a video. Follow on Instagram at Roofless Garage, and we'll see you guys later.